Well, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Surprise, Arizona, the campus of champions, okay? We know this is a celebration of the Cactus League, but we're very proud and very happy to say that we are the host this year of not only the American League West champions, but the World Series champions, and for a West Valley facility, that's a great thing to say. You know, in any municipality, and I've been doing it for almost 25 years, you have to have management leadership, and then you have to have political leadership. And it's my pleasure to introduce our mayor, the Honorable Mayor Sharon Wolcott, to say a hello and a welcome. Mayor, if you come up.
Thank you, Mark. Well, good afternoon to everyone. We are so thrilled to have you all here, and I'm not going to let him go anywhere without saying a word of thanks to this man. I have to tell you, we are all blessed to be here in Surprise, Arizona. We are all blessed, but here in Surprise, we are blessed to have this man on our staff. This man as a leader of our Parks and Recreation Department, but not only that, our baseball operations and for the Cactus League. So we're so blessed to have him on board. And what a great day it is today to welcome all of you to the campus of champions that was built by this man. I have to tell you, we're very, very proud. So thank you, Mark. I know everyone can agree this is the best time to be here in Arizona. And it's this great weather that welcomes the teams back every year. And you certainly delivered another one, Mark. Good job. And while every year seems to be better and better, I must admit that last year was a little extra special for us here in Surprise, with the Rangers capturing the American League West Division title, and then the Kansas City Royals crowned the world champions. That was truly amazing. So give it up for both of these teams. We are so thrilled to welcome them all, and as well as other Cactus Leagues teams represented here today. Want to wish you all welcome back to the 2016 season. We also look forward, obviously, to welcoming back the fans. Each of the Valley's spring training cities loves the opportunity to show off their amazing teams with their incredible stadiums and our beautiful cities. Our fans not only bring excitement and energy with them, but an enormous economic impact as well. I know that recent studies have estimated that Cactus League generates more than $809 million in annual economic impact for the state. So you should all be congratulated for that impact. We thank you. We thank you all. I'm excited to see what this year has in store for our teams and for all of our cities. So once again, welcome and thank you all.
Thank you, Mayor. You know, I mentioned to you that we have Crystal Clear Awards, and there's a tradition here that we honor, and we're all leaders here. We all make decisions every day that impact people's lives or businesses' futures. But sometimes it's easy to complain, but it's not easy to congratulate. And I'm very proud. If I could ask Louis Moses and Lindsay Duncan to come up on stage with me. I'm going to start with Louis. We give out these awards here, and we call them crystal clear, because what it is it's a crystal clear baseball. And what it means is that it's crystal clear that these people have made a difference in the Cactus League and in the organization. Louis, last year, you're seeing on a lot of the things that you have today. He's with Moses Ansel. He's one of the principals there. He designed the new logo for the Cactus League at no charge. He said, I'm going to do it because I want to do it, and I believe in baseball. Even though he's a Pirates fan, we let him do it. And he wanted to get McCutcheon here today, but I told him no. And the reality of it is, Louis, on behalf of the Cactus League, our board, our executive team, our association members, and everyone that's involved, Louis, thank you for helping us and creating a new image for the Cactus League. Thank you so much. And then this is really a sentimental statement for me. When you're able to do a $23 to $24 million renovation, you need political support, you need administrative support, but you also need colleague support. And there was a lady who is our CFO, our financial chief officer, and her and I didn't always agree to agree, and we agreed to disagree more than probably 2 or 3 times. But the reality of it is we always came to consensus. And I have to tell you that she's a young professional. All of us in the municipal world know that your finance departments and your HR departments are very valuable to your success. These are the folks that are behind the scenes who don't get the credit and don't get to stand in front of folks like yourself, but they're the ones that are pulling the strings and making the phone calls and jumping on the calculators to refinance debt, to redo the things that it takes. And Lindsay deserves a lot of credit that we were able to extend our contract and make the Cactus League healthy by extending the contract to 2030. So on behalf of the Cactus League, but more importantly, the City of Surprise and our city manager and our city council, I'd like to give a crystal clear award. It's crystal clear to me that she's a very important piece of this fabric of our organization. Lindsay, thank you. The Arizona Office of Tourism is a big piece of what we do, and it's very important for us to have their support and not only their patronage, but it's partnership. And Stephanie is here today representing the director, Ms. Johnson. And Stephanie, if you'd say a few words on behalf of the Arizona Office of Tourism, we'd appreciate it.
Good afternoon. On behalf of the Arizona Office of Tourism and the entire tourism industry, I want to thank the Cactus League organization for everything that you do for this destination. As one of the state's most exciting tourism offerings, Cactus League Spring Training Games generate an economic benefit that resonates throughout all of Arizona. Year after year, more than 1 million fans attend spring training games. The attendance generates more than $540 million in economic impact for our state. And that does not include all the other activities and the drivers of the attendance to other parts of the valley and parts of the state, which is a much greater number, as the mayor mentioned. So this is all but very exciting. That is a significant economic contribution, which is vital not only to the local economy, but to the entire state of Arizona. Our unique role at the Arizona Office of Tourism is to show the rest of the country and the world all that Arizona has to offer. And as we work to promote the great state of Arizona, we include these games in our marketing efforts as they are such a valuable tourism asset. In fact, we've launched multi-layered spring training marketing campaigns that have digital components, social media contests, and out-of-home placements to inspire baseball fans from around the world to visit Arizona for these games. With promotions in all 10 stadiums, we're encouraging fans to travel not only to the local areas in which the stadiums reside, but also to the entire state of Arizona. We're hoping that they visit, they enjoy the valley, they enjoy the stadiums, they enjoy the games, but they also get outside of the valley and enjoy the entire state. So we have so much to offer them. So I commend the Cactus League organization for what they do for our state, and we look forward to many more years of great partnership. Thank you very much.
Well, now the fun begins. I would like to ask if Jimmy Sundberg would come up, and I call him Jimmy, I call him Sonny, I call them a lot of different things, and I'm sure the Rangers Royals call them a lot of different things behind closed doors. But it's all good and it's all fun. You know, Jim was a multi-year Golden Glove winner, played in many All-Star games, and actually caught the last pitch of the 1985 World Series for the Kansas City Royals. Jimmy was really a part of what this renovation was all about. We renovated the facilities to approximately 55 to 58,000 square feet, hydrotherapy pools, state-of-the-art weight rooms, kitchens that, boy, I'm inviting all of you to a Super Bowl party, okay? Because we have the kitchen to handle it, okay? And the reality of it is Jim and I started talking about this probably 5 years ago, and now he's retired, and his favorite player are his grandchildren and his children. And it's a pleasure for me to introduce to you a good friend of this facility, but more importantly, a former Major League Baseball player that left a legacy in his own right, Mr. Jimmy Sundberg.
Thank you. Some of the smartest guys in all of baseball are getting ready to come up here. We got a wonderful cast today, a very smart, talented group, star-studded, general managers, some Hall of Famers. And the first guy we're going to bring up here is the manager of the world champion Kansas City Royals, Ned Yost. Let me just say a couple of things. Ned is the longest tenured manager now in Royal history. Entered 2016 ranking 6th among active managers in games and wins. Since the start of 13, he has managed the club to the most wins in the American League. He's posted a .710 postseason winning percentage. The skipper of the world champion Kansas City Royals.
Thank you. Sonny said he had some of the smartest people in baseball here, and I turned around to say, who else is here? But first of all, let me say, thank you to the City of Surprise. Let me say thank you to the mayor and to Mark. This facility is absolutely gorgeous. I mean, you see this field out here. I don't know where there's a prettier baseball field in Arizona to play spring training in. It's absolutely so functional. Our fields in the back are so well maintained. It's absolutely a pleasure to have spring training here. The additions that were made this winter for our clubhouse, it's just knocked the players' eyes out. When they walked in, everybody was in awe on how beautiful it was, how much more room we have, the kitchen facilities, the weight room. It's just absolutely fantastic. So, I just want to thank the city, the mayor, Mark, for just providing such an outstanding place for us to come for 6 weeks and get ready for our championship season. So thank you guys very much for that. It's wonderful. Sonny said it, for the last 6 years, these teams have been in the World Series, 2 for Texas, 2 for us. And as a city, we get to celebrate a spring where you're housing the world champions, which was very, very special. And last year was such a great year for us. Coming off of 2014, 90 feet short from winning a world championship and being back-to-back champions hurt. And when we came here to Surprise last year, we had goals in mind. And it was the first time I've been a manager where we have met every goal that we set in spring training. The Kansas City Royals had never won the Central Division. When they won it in '85, they were in the West. So we wanted to win the Central Division. We ended up doing that by 12 games. We wanted to win home field advantage so that we'd have advantage for the playoffs, during the playoffs. We did that. We wanted to win the All-Star game so we'd have home field advantage in the World Series. And having 8 players on the All-Star team, we did that, which was cool. But then our main goal was to bring a world championship back to Kansas City and back to Surprise for spring training. And our guys went out and they played a magnificent World Series, one that we can all be proud of. But it all starts right here. It all starts with this beautiful facility. It starts with great fans. We've got tremendous fans back there right now watching everything that we do. It starts with all of us. So from the bottom of my heart, I just want to thank you guys for being here for us. You just make spring training very, very special. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ned. The next manager spent 29 years in the Pirate organization, the last 4 as the bench coach under the Rangers hitting coach Clint Hurdle, his last 4 years in Pittsburgh. He got the opportunity to come over to the Rangers, and in his first managerial year was Manager of the Year. Ladies and gentlemen, Jeff Bannister.
First of all, thank you. Thank you to everyone who has put this together, and also congratulations to the Kansas City Royals. I feel so blessed to be able to be in the same facility, share the same facility, and my sentiments exactly. Been with Pittsburgh for 29 years and watching the rebuild, and not only rebuild of a ball club, but also rebuild of facilities in Bradenton, Florida. At never spring train, been in spring training in Arizona. One of my goals was to get up every morning and call back home and tell my wife how many clouds I counted in the sky. And so I haven't got past 0 yet, so it's been outstanding. What a wonderful facility. But it also starts with the community. And for me, that's what we do, it's all about. It's the people inside the community, people like yourself, that afford us the opportunity to do what we do. It's a great game of baseball. It's fun to play. It's fun to manage. It's fun to coach. It's fun to watch the impact that we have on young lives, and then grown-up lives, and then the lives for these guys when they're done playing the game of baseball, the type of husband, brother, father, son that they really become. And along the way, we get to help them with some character, some integrity, and some passion, so that they can show up every single day and give the fans, which in my opinion are the most important ingredient to everything that we do, because without you, without fans that show up to the game to see us play, we wouldn't have this sport. We'd still be playing on the back fields. It would still be a Sunday game. So I thank you for that. But also thank you as a community that allow us to show up and to do what we do, invade your space for a time frame, and allow you to come enjoy the greatness of what these guys do on a daily basis, because sometimes I'm still amazed at what they can do and what they can achieve. So I'd like to take the time to say thank you. First year was great. Like Ned, we all have goals. Same goals that they were able to accomplish. Talked about 2014 for the Texas Rangers, which I believe it was a 97 loss season, all the way to 88 wins. And I talked to our guys today about the celebration of winning. Well, we had a goal also, and that was to win the West. And when we started last year and we started talking about winning the West, everybody in baseball looked at us with a furry eyeball and said, there's absolutely no way you guys picked us 29th. But here's what I know about the heart and what I know about the soul and what I know about when collective thoughts become one, and they truly have passion for what they do, and they show up every single day, and it's important for what they do, and they have people behind them, like yourself, that show up every single day that give them the motivation that it takes to go out and play this game. And everybody's talked about it. Jim talked about it. 162 games in 183 days. Yeah, it's absolute grind. And it takes something other than just what's inside their own heart and inside their own mind. It takes the people behind them. It takes an impact from someone in the stands, someone within their family, someone within their own coaching staff to look at them and make them believe that they're greater than what they even think they can be on a daily basis. That's the impact that we have. And hopefully what these guys give you, well, I tell them every single day, show up every single day and play the game, because there are those who can dream and those who can remember when. You think about that statement, those who can dream and those who can remember when. And in a win, let the fans be proud in everything you do. And in a loss, give them hope for tomorrow. Again, thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for having us.
General managers have the task of looking across the entire season and breaking the season down into segments where do we need to add somebody here? What do we need to do at this point to get us to the next point? And it goes on from the start of spring training to the end of spring training, into the second month to June, July, August, and all the way down the road. And the first general manager I'm going to introduce today, Dayton Moore. Dayton is actually both, Dayton I think is in his 10th, JD is in his 11th. But these guys, I'm going to brag on you guys just a little bit, both of you here, so hang on. These guys have set a goal to bring a world championship to the club, and I've seen that in both Dayton and JD, and of course Kansas City doing that this past season. The club became just the fourth since 2000 to reach the Fall Classic in back-to-back seasons after coming up just short in 2014. I know from Dayton's background of scouting and being in the Atlanta organization, 15 division championships, 4 World Series, a title over there, and very much a part of that organization. He has brought the same stuff here. Over the past 3 seasons, the Royals have won more games than any other American League club with a .556 winning percentage, and it's the 4th highest in the major leagues at that span. Ladies and gentlemen, Dayton Moore.
Thank you so much. Well, we appreciate so much the opportunity to train in Surprise. I want to thank Mark and his great leadership here. He has been somebody been in the trenches and been a warrior for us since day one. The mayor, all the council members, the city leaders, of course, the great Cactus League, Joey and Mike, who prepare the fields each and every day. And I want to thank JD and the Texas Rangers. They're a great partnership. We have a very healthy rivalry, a spirit of competition that is very special and really doesn't exist much in the game today. So we're really proud to partner with the Texas Rangers. And, the thing that we all know and understand and appreciate, and you ask any player, any person, when their time is gone in this game, when they look back, what do they miss the most? And within 30 seconds, they all say the same thing. They miss the camaraderie. They miss the togetherness. They miss the competition. What they're saying is they miss the environment. That's what they're missing. That's what they love so much. And that's why we're so fortunate to train here in Surprise. This is a great city. Many of our players buy homes here. We love spending time here, even in the summer. We come here because it has a special, special spirit to it. And it's no secret why there's been success with Texas and here in Kansas City. It's because of the environment. It's because of what you all do each and every day to make this city special. So I want to thank you. Enjoy baseball. Keep doing what you do. It's an honor and a blessing to be a part of the City of Surprise. This great facility, all the great work, as Ned mentioned, with the renovations. It's a special, special place to train, and it's an honor to be here. So thank you.
Thank you, Dayton. Next general manager and also president of baseball operations of the Rangers, John Daniels. I had a chance to be very close to watch just how hard somebody works to bring a winning team to the table. I mentioned earlier 75 hours work week. For JD, it's probably beyond that. And general managers, as Dayton will also say too, it's 24/7. And it just continues to go on and on and on. And I've seen JD work and put so much hard time under his leadership. The Rangers have advanced to postseason 4 times in the last 6 years, the most playoff appearances ever for a Texas Ranger general manager. The Rangers have posted a .522 regular season record in Daniels' 10 seasons, leading the club's baseball operations. Over the last 7 years, Texas has the 5th highest winning percentage in the major leagues at .539. It was really, the Rangers had an interesting season because they were playing catch-up to Houston most of the year, and and there was a number of key acquisitions made in late July and August that put pieces together that helped this club give Jeff Bannister the pieces he needed, and they went on to win the Western Division champs. So, ladies and gentlemen, John Daniels.
Thanks, Sonny. Thanks, everybody, for coming out. Dayton mentioned the friendly rivalry, and I've got to go on record here. This is the 8th day we've been out here so far this spring, and we both stay over at the Residence Inn here, and today was the first day. I've been getting up earlier and earlier to try to beat him out, and I beat him today, so I would like that to be officially marked down. They have a group of like 25 guys that go out and train every morning. I feel like we're behind. We got to catch up a little bit. Echo what everybody else said here. I want to thank first and foremost the Cactus League. I think we've all been part of organizations training in Florida. I'm biased obviously, but hands down, no contest. This is a huge advantage for us as an organization, but really for every club that's out here. I think the city is surprised. The renovated facilities. I'm not sure if everyone's had a chance to. You probably haven't seen what we've done in the two complexes, but it's unbelievable. The city stepped up. I want to thank Mayor Walcott and city leadership and Mark Coronado and his staff and Joey and Travis and on down the line. Unbelievable group here, and we're better for it. Echo what Banny said too, kind of tip of the cap to Ned and to Dayton and their organization. Having been part of this facility now together for a long time, really genuinely pull for each other, and we were pretty close to having an all-surprise ALCS. We one game away there in Toronto. Didn't quite get it done, but something for all of us to shoot for going forward. Jim mentioned some of the mid-season acquisitions that we made. We were at under 500 at the time we made the moves. It was really a nod to the work that Jeff and his staff have done, the culture they built on the club, the veteran leadership, the emergence of some of the young players that we believe that we had a shot to get in the thing, but ultimately to have players that could be part of it going forward. So we added Cole Hamels, Jake Diekman, and Sam Dyson, ultimately Mike Napoli along the way, and the team really responded and came through. And our strategy this offseason was basically to bring back the core of the team intact. We like our club, good mix of veteran and young players. We added some talent around that group, and we're going to keep molding the next wave below it to join them here this year. But a lot of confidence in our manager, leadership on the team, our staff, scouting and development group that we've got, and really it all starts here. So we appreciate the support from the Cactus League, everybody involved, and especially the City of Surprise. Thank you guys very much.
A Hall of Fame pitcher, won 248 games, 284 across 19-year career, 7-time 20-game winner with a 3.34 ERA, 3,192 strikeouts. 3-time All-Star, had to be more. You must have had a slow start. He was with the Cubs, yes.
It belonged to the manager. He didn't want to pick certain guys, so I didn't get picked.
So anyway, inducted into baseball's Hall of Fame in 1991. Played with the Harlem Globetrotters a little bit, 67, 69.
My off-season job for 3 years.
You guys didn't know that.
I was a bad car salesman, believe me.
It's interesting, but folks, one of the memories that I had, I told you, having grown up in Illinois, and watched Fergie, went to games and died with the 69 Cubs, and going through all of that. But in my first major league game, I catch Ferguson Jenkins, the world champion Oakland A's, who he would be 5-0 against that season. They would win their third world championship that year. And he throws a one-hitter in my first major league game, a swinging bunt out in front of home plate, and you missed the darn ball. Why'd you screw up like that? We could have had
a no-hitter. Well, hey, things happen in the game.
Well, anyway.
Campaneris got that hit, too.
Campaneris. Campaneris did that. He had an amazing touch with his pitches. The best control one of the best control artists of all time. I caught him and Maddox, and they could spot the ball about as good as anything. You had a special touch with the ball. Anything going on there? That was
Put it in my hand through strikes. The number one thing they tell you, what's your best pitch? Strike.
You didn't use anything.
Yeah, definitely.
What was Fergie was also a pretty good hitter. Hit a bunch of home runs as a player. What was going on there?
Well, the other pitcher made a mistake. Got the ball up in the strike zone. Wrigley Field, Pittsburgh, New York. First home run was against Don Sutton. Second home run, Tom Seaver. Third home run, Bob Veal. I can name them all. Guys made a mistake, took advantage of it.
I actually was at a game in Wrigley as a kid. You hit 2 home runs in one game, and a pretty cool thing. If you were saying that 74 season when you came over to the Rangers, what do you remember about that?
Well, we had a great manager, Billy Martin. His team meeting was, hey, if we get into a fight, don't grab him. I went, that's fair enough. I won't grab you.
We got into more fights, I think, in the first year and a half.
We had a fight on the plane, too, with
Yeah.
Bert Hawkins, the traveling secretary.
Yeah.
That was incredible.
You all may not know we were actually the last team to play 10-cent beer night in Cleveland, and that was interesting.
I started that game, pitched 5 2/3, and the riot started. I was already in. Lenny Randall spiked me. I went over to cover for third, and he stepped on my foot. Had 7 stitches in my foot through my spike, and I'm sitting on a gurney, and all of a sudden the doors break open in this little clinic I was in. There's a riot in the Cleveland Stadium. I was already safe. They were throwing chairs from the upper deck. You know, they had a small canister they were selling. You were allowed 6 beers apiece. And they were throwing a cardboard on the field, hitting the umpires. But the end of it was I'm not sure who the umpire was. I can't think of his name.
Shylock.
Dexter Shylock. He gave the team the win. When I left the ball game, the score was 5-2. How come I don't get the win? Yeah, but they gave the team the win, 9-0. It's only happened like twice in baseball.
Yeah. It got pretty scary. I was in the on-deck circle, 6th inning, projectile coming out from the upper deck and hitting just in front of me a beer bottle stuck in a paper cup. Cleveland at that time, which obviously has much changed since then. Are the Indians? They're
in Goodyear.
Yeah.
Bye.
All right. Yeah. Hey, you are alive. All right. And
these ladies weren't born when that game was going on.
Yeah. No, you're probably right. Yeah, I see that now. But anyway, it broke out in the 9th inning. They came out of the stands, tried to grab a couple of guys' gloves, and then it was all bedlam after that. One last question here. You know, it's funny because you have a lot of fun in the clubhouse, and there was one particular day. Fergie was a big fisherman, and one day I came in the locker room and noticed that the players were mainly still there. No one had really gone out on the field yet. I sit down in my locker, and out from behind my glove comes a snake. And Fergie, you want to tell him about that?
Well, I was out fishing at Texoma in the morning, and it came back. I caught a big black water snake, and I put it in the live well. And it's not poisonous, but the biggest thing is I was able to handle it. So I put it in your glove, and I just wanted to get the reaction of someone seeing a snake.
Well, you got my reaction. And I fell off backwards, went into a trash can and out. He had actually, it was dead, and he pulled it out with a string attached to it from the other side of the locker room, just kind of pulled it out of my glove. And it was off from there. But anyway, Fergie, thanks for coming up today.
Pleasure. All right.
Great to see you again.
Thanks, Sonny.
Art is in his 47th season with the Royals, 64th in professional baseball. That's how old I am. He is an amazing guy, a legacy in scouting. Welcome, Art Stewart.
Here, Sonny.
Yeah. Just, we got a couple of minutes here. What do you remember about the transition of baseball over the last, let's go back 50 years of what spring training was then and what it is today?
Well, let's go back 60, Sonny.
Well, go 60.
1956. You know, now we're in 2016.
Okay.
And, of course, I was with the Yankees then, and that was the year that Mickey was the Triple Crown winner. And you talked about a field and a half. we were in St. Petersburg, Florida. We had old Miller Huggins Field to work out on, another half field, and played the games in Al Lang Field. And incidentally, Al Lang Field, unless you had a box seat, you sat at that time on wooden bleachers. A little change from what we hear. I know I can say this. If Mickey and Whitey and Yogi were all here today, they would think they died and went to heaven to see something like this. They wouldn't believe. They just wouldn't believe it. We had an old barracks as a clubhouse at Miller Huggins Field, and that's where all the players were, major league players, in an Army barracks. A team that had won 5 world championships in a row with these great players. And this one particular morning in spring training, getting ready to go, and it starts raining. And what happens? The roof starts leaking a little in the clubhouse, and poor Yogi's trying to finish his comic book, Superman, and a drop comes down on it, the last word that Superman was saying, and Yogi, he gets all upset, and he's hollering about the leak, and then old Casey Stengel comes in. He says, "What's wrong, guys?" I said, "Well, look at this. The rain's coming down." And Casey said to him, he said, "Gentlemen, there's only one thing that can beat this team, and that's the guy upstairs." And then he looked up at the drops coming down from the ceiling, and he said, "Another thing, don't figure on any golf this afternoon. We will play until it stops raining. We will play." But that's the way the conditions then were unbelievable. And the uniforms, Sonny, were the 100% wool uniforms out in the heat.
Yeah, loved them in Texas. It was, and you know when he's talking about, actually those first early years in Pompano Beach, we had a hole in the wall in center field, and it was never really repaired. So much difference between then. What about this? What about now? What do you see?
Well, now the players came, talking to some of the players coming in our clubhouse, modern players that have been used to conditions being good, but this is unbelievable. You know, when we moved in here in 2003, it was the state of the art. And I can remember Tommy Lasorda calling me. They were going to build at Glendale. He says, "They want me to come over and see your complex." And so I took Tommy around in the club, let him see the complex. And he just shook his head how great it was. Well, they built one. The Diamondbacks built one. Goodyear's built one. And now what the people here, the city of Surprise, what's been done here, we are back at the state of the art of the best spring training facility in all of baseball.
Yes, clap, yeah. It is amazing. Art, I want to thank you for coming up, and really for all of the years. This guy has been, as those of you who know Kansas City, he sits behind home plate at those games, watches all those games, turns in reports. It has been an amazing career. Terrific guy. Art, thanks for coming today.
One last thing I want to tell everybody. I saw this guy in high school. I saw him in college. One of the best catchers I've ever seen in a game. Thanks, Sonny.
Thanks, Art. Thank you. As Art is making his way down, we'll start introducing this next guy, teammate. Been in baseball forever, 23 years in the Royals as Vice President of Baseball Operations, a Baseball Hall of Famer in '99, receiving 98% of the votes, 3,154 hits, George Brett.
Good timing. How about that? Good to see you again.
Guys, you're looking good. Make me want to go work out again.
I worked out this morning. What a facility we have over there. Man, is that nice.
Isn't it something? The view from the training rooms are pretty good. You know, when we used to play against each other, I was going to say that almost everybody up here today were with the Rangers, except that George owned the Rangers, but not with money, with his bat. I mean, he killed us most of the time. I don't know if you remember when I used to try to jack with you when you were coming
all the time. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember I'd come up to bat and I'd always first thing I always did was I always told the umpire, whoever was umpiring behind home plate, I said, "You're my favorite umpire."
Oh, it was pathetic.
And Jim would start laughing. And then I would say, and he had a reputation of being the best defensive catcher and the highest percentage of throwing runners out. And I'd say, when I get on first base, I'm stealing second the second pitch. I never went.
And
I think I went once, and you threw me out by 10
you're going to have
feet.
to take something extra if you're going to. But anyway, but the fun that we had, actually one time we had an umpire tell us, would you two please shut up?
Yeah.
I'm trying to call a game here, but became a teammate with George, always admired him. When people ask me who's the best hitter you played with, I respond in this way. Al Oliver hit the ball as hard consistently as anybody that I ever played with, but George was the best hitter. Al hit a ball, and a ball that hit over the second baseman's head would have a carry to the right fielder. George had this swing that would go over the second base and in front of the right fielder. But the consummate hitter, if you started off the inning and you needed a double, George got a double. You needed a home run, he could get a home run. You needed a fly ball, fly ball. An amazing hitter. And I was going to say, in '75, it's probably one of your best years because you not only you had a lot of home runs, drove in a lot of runs, but you also won a Gold Glove. How special was that? 85. What did I say? Yeah, 85.
Well, we had come close. For those of you that don't know, in '76 we went to the playoffs, lost to the Yankees in the last inning of the last game. '75 or '77 went to the playoffs, same thing. '78 went to the playoffs, lost to the Yankees. '79 we didn't go to the playoffs. We lost the division by 2 games. '80 went to the World Series. '81 went to the playoffs, lost. '84 lost, and then '85 we finally won. '85 was when Jim Sundberg came over, and we had a very young pitching staff. We had Saberhagen, Gubazaw, Buddy Black, Charlie Leibrandt, and Danny Jackson, and they thought we needed a veteran catcher to help these guys along, so they went out and got Jim Sundberg.
He couldn't walk, but he could still think a little bit.
Yeah, you didn't throw like you used to, but they didn't get on base as often as they needed to, you know? And I think that's what put us over the hump, having a guy like that call games and walk these guys through a ball game. And 1985 was, I think, my best year I ever had in the big leagues. In 1980, I hit .390, but I only played 117 games because I tore ligaments in my right ankle, stealing second base. But 1985, I played 159 games and hit .330 and 30 most home runs I ever hit, 30 home runs, and drove in a bunch of runs and helped our team win a championship. And that's what it's about. It's not having a good year and your team comes in second or third. It's having a good year when your team wins, and that's what I was able to do in 1985.
And in '85, I'll never forget. It was I think it was June, July, somewhere in that summer month. He hit 400 for 2 months. I'll never forget. And y'all being in baseball know that someone hitting third and fourth in the lineup is going to get up 4 times. If it's well pitched, you're probably still going to get up 4 times. If there's some runs scored, you're going to get up 5 times. But can you imagine 2 hits a night for 2 months, and if you don't get a hit one night, you got to get 4 the next to pick it up? You remember that stretch?
I had a pretty good stretch there. I had a stretch one year, and I think it was 1979, where I had 6 hits in a game, or 3 or more hits in a game for 7 straight days, which really helps your average because you are going to go 0 for 5 and 0 for 4 a couple times. There's only one guy I know that's played baseball for more than 10 years in Major League Baseball that swears he never went 0 for 5 in a game, and that's Jamie Quirk, who used to play for the Royals, and then he played for a lot of teams. And the reason he never went 0 for 5 in a game, he always said he was pinch hit for when he was 0 for 4.
When you compare that team to last year's KC team, what do you see there? You know, my sense was that we had a pretty good starting rotation, but the 15 Kansas City Royals had a grinding offense and a good starting rotation and a solid bullpen. What's your evaluation or comparison?
We had a good starting rotation. We had a stellar one of the best bullpens ever assembled, in my opinion, and we had grinders. We had no superstars on our team. There's an old saying in baseball, you play for the name on the front of your jersey, not the name on the back, and we had 12 or 13 guys doing that all year long. They didn't care if they were the hero. They moved runners over in key situations, which I'm sure you all saw last year during the playoff run against the Houston Astros, and then against the Toronto Blue Jays, and then in the World Series against the New York Mets. These guys were behind in so many games, and yet they just gave themselves up to move a runner over, and they had enough confidence in the guy hitting behind them that they could drive him in. That's how we won all those games, and that's how we became world champions. And hopefully they'll have that same attitude this year. I know they're working hard, and they're a pleasure to be around. They're a great group of guys. And I remember 1985. We were very, very close, weren't we?
Oh, yeah.
And these guys are a very close-knit group of guys. They are very close. They pull for one another. They actually like each other, and they don't want to let anybody else on that team down, and I think that's why they've been successful.
Yeah. I remember in '85 we drafted Bo Jackson, and actually I've had scouts say that, and Art, you know this, Bo was probably the fastest runner from the right side in baseball that was ever clocked, really outdoing a lot of fast runners from the left side of it. And remember when Bo was drafted and he came in and brought his Heisman Trophy? Yeah. Picture.
Bo was drafted, and we all know he was the number one pick by, I forget who it was, in Tampa Bay, I think, in football. And he didn't want to play football at the time. He wanted to play baseball. So Avron Fogelman, the owner of the team, brings him in the locker room with John Scherholtz, and he's walking around, and here's this massive guy in a suit, and he's handing out autographed pictures of him with his Heisman Trophy. And everybody's kind of looking, going, who the hell does this guy think he is? I put it in my locker. It stayed in my locker until Bo got to the big leagues, and then I left it there. And finally, he came up to me and said, "You can take that down now. That's really embarrassing." But I kept it in my locker for 2 or 3 years till it took him to get to the big leagues.
Yeah. Lastly, what is the most memorable moment? Is it the 7th game of the '85 World Series? What is your
the 7th game of the World Series?
Yeah, or just one.
Well, I would say the final out. It was a pretty boring game. After a while, we got, I think, 2 runs in the 3rd and 3 in the 4th and 6 in the 5th or something. So it's 11-0, and here it is, the 7th game of the World Series. But I'll tell a quick story. Game 6, we were behind, and we got a little help from an umpire's call at first base, and we took advantage of that, and we ended up winning the ball game. You scored the winning run, head first slide into home plate after a pinch hit by Dane Orge, and I remember going to bed that night, and the game was at 8 o'clock, I think, and I probably got home after stopping off and having a few beers. Probably got home about 2:30. And I remember going to sleep, and I woke up, it was about 3:30, and all I thought about was Game 7. And I went back to sleep, I woke up, it was 3:35. And I went back to sleep, I woke up, it was 3:50. I'm going, oh my God, this is going to be a tough night. Because obviously you're playing in the biggest game of your life, the Game 7 of the World Series. And I remember going to the football game that day. The Chiefs had a football game at home. And I remember calling John Makovic, the coach, saying, John, I can't sleep. I got to get my mind off of baseball. I got to go to the football game. I got to go to the football game. He said, go to my suite. So I go to his suite, and the next thing I walk in the suite, and there's Whitey Herzog, who's the manager of the St. Louis Cardinals, whom we're playing. And Whitey and John knew each other well, so Whitey and I sat at the game together. But obviously, without your slide into home plate and Dane Orge pinch hit, we don't get to Game 7. But Game 7 became a laugher. Obviously, it was a lot of fun. Our first World Series championship in Kansas City, followed it up 30 years later with another one, and hopefully we can bring another one back next year for you fine people and surprise.
George Brett, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, George. All right, we're going to have one final thing to do. Robert Johnson, the co-leader of the Cactus League Hall of Fame, is going to come up and has a few announcements.
Thanks, Jim. Jim Sundberg was the catcher of the first baseball game I ever got to see when I was 10 years old in Kansas City. He went 2 for 4, but the Royals swept a doubleheader, and I was very excited as a 10-year-old to have that happen, so I'm sorry, Jim. The first member of this year's class was a star of stage, screen, and front office. He sang songs like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. He appeared in movies, and he had a wonder horse named Champion. In 1960, the singing cowboy turned radio station owner wanted to buy the broadcast rights for a new American League expansion team that was planned for Southern California. But the owners at the time, the other baseball owners, instead convinced him to buy the team, and the Los Angeles Angels were born. Now, the Angels first trained in Palm Springs, and then they spent a little time in Casa Grande. before playing their first home game in Tempe in 1993, where they still train today. So with that, we want to welcome Mr. Gene Autry to the Cactus League Hall of Fame, and accepting the award on behalf of his wife Jackie, who is still in Studio City but could not make it today, is a former Cactus League president and a man who knew Gene Autry well. His name is Ron Pies.
My wife said, "You're crazy for wearing that jacket. It's going to be 100 degrees out." But it's my Gene Autry jacket. It's a real pleasure to accept this on behalf of Gene and Jackie. I did not know at the time that I was asked to do this that the other recipients or the other people who are going to be inducted today were very good friends of mine, and I'm just tickled to death to be here to see that happen, particularly Robert Brinton and Jim Bruner, two of the most influential people that had so much to do with what the Cactus League looks like today. Gene was a wonderful person. We met when we negotiated with the team, and Gene had sent a plane over for us to come over to Anaheim and have dinner with them and watch a ball game. And we sat and watched games with him. I've had dinner with he and Jackie, and they don't come any better than Gene. And for somebody that grew up, when I grew up, watching Gene Autry movies, it was one of those things that you just never think that you'll ever have the opportunity to meet the cowboy and to see Gene at a ball game, sit next to him, and listen to him talk about baseball. This was his true love. And Arizona was his true love. And those folks that were involved with the negotiating the contract tell me that Mr. Autry said, no games. We want to be in Tempe, or we want to be in Arizona, and so don't be playing any games of going to Florida or whatever. Gene was a part owner of the CBS affiliate in Phoenix. And one thing that I would like to add before I step down is that Mrs. Autry, Jackie, was more than just the little lady in the ballpark. She was a very, very integral part of the California, Anaheim, Los Angeles Angels. And I would like to suggest to the committee that is responsible that this Hall of Fame induction add the name Jackie Autry to it. Jackie was the honorary president of the American League for 15 years, and anybody who received the trophy for the American League Championship received it from Jackie. So thank you very much for inviting me and for giving me the opportunity to be here and represent Gene Autry.
Our next member of the 2016 class was in a class by himself and a force to be reckoned with. He lived in the Valley, but his impact was felt coast to coast. He led a thriving construction company that built the famous Flamingo Hotel in Las Vegas and gave us our first look at a true master plan community in a little place down the road here called Sun City. Jackie Autry said her late husband Gene would have been proud to share that stage with him today because this man also built Anaheim Stadium, among others. Our honoree's ties to baseball were with the New York Yankees, a club he co-owned from 1947 to 1964, and one that he brought to the original Phoenix Muni for a spring campaign one season in 1951. Now, that was quite a treat because for a few weeks, people here could watch a rookie named Mickey Mantle and an old-timer named Joe DiMaggio work out together in the brand-new Cactus League. We want to welcome this Arizona icon, Mr. Del Webb, to the Cactus League Hall of Fame. And accepting the award is Mr. Larry Johnson, the son of the late Mr. Robert H. Johnson, not related, Del Webb's most trusted business associate. Larry?
Thank you very much. It's really an honor to be able to accept this award from Mr. Webb. You're doing a great thing. In this day and age, when people hear Deli Web, most people think of an internet sandwich shop. The Del Webb Hospital, not far from here, actually has a sign over the door that says Deli Web, D-E-L-I, like a delicatessen. There's just too many people who don't know who Mr. Webb was. Most of those people also don't know what carbon paper is or was. He was bigger than life. The very first time I met him, I was working as a computer operator in what was the Webb building on North Central. And of course, he had a reserved parking place down in the basement, and I parked across the street. I came to work one day and went to the lobby and pushed the button on the elevator and opened the door and walked in, and Mr. Webb was in there. Big guy, you know, my boss's boss. I was just so flustered I got off on the wrong floor. He lived in a time of real heroes. You've heard their names. Mickey Mantle, Joe DiMaggio, Casey Stengel, my kind of guy. What a talker. He did hang out and work with people like Howard Hughes and Conrad Hilton, but his real heroes were the ball players. He grew up in Fresno. His dad loved baseball. By the time Del was 13, he was known as the best first baseman in Fresno and got paid $2.50 a game for playing on a pickup semi-pro league. He was a carpenter by trade, so he worked all over California. And whenever he went looking for a job, the very first question he asked was, does this company have a baseball team? If they didn't have a team, he didn't take the job. He went from the Winter Alameda League to the Standard Oil League. He even signed on with some outlaw leagues under an assumed name. He loved baseball. Well, 1927 was a really bad year for him. In those years, he was drinking quite a lot. He quit that cold turkey not long after that. But on one of those days, he was scheduled to play an exhibition game at San Quentin. Well, he woke up late with a hangover, missed his ride. By the time he got there, some very sick trustee gave him a glass of water. And a couple days later, he came down with a very bad case of typhoid fever. Almost killed him. He dropped from 204 pounds to 99 pounds, spent 11 weeks in bed. Took him an entire year to get over it. And when he could finally work, on the advice of a friend, he decided to move to Phoenix, where he started his contracting business. He also played for the industrial team, and at one of those games, he hit this great home run, and then found out that the team had dropped him because he'd failed by 1 day to meet a 30-day residency requirement. And he realized he just couldn't handle 2 full-time careers, baseball and construction. And he decided to not play ball anymore. But he never lost his love for the game, and business was good. In 1945, he paid $2.8 million to become co-owners of the New York Yankees. He loved baseball. In the office of the Deli Webb Foundation, we have one wall that is just covered with photographs of Mr. Webb. They're almost all baseball. There is a picture of him with some of his managers holding up a blueprint standing in front of a Phoenix Municipal, which he built. And there's a picture of him at some table with some, military dignitary signing some important government contract. But he wasn't smiling. And then there's a shot of him sitting in a box seat behind the dugout with Mel Ott, and he's smiling. But the picture that really gets to me, he was playing in an old-timers game, and the shot shows him in the dugout with a bunch of old guys like me. And it was an old-timers game against a team of reporters. And you can see they're just having a great time. They're telling stories and laughing, and he's just grinning from ear to ear. Well, baseball was more of the life that he loved than business. And I'll tell you, if he could be here today to take this award, he would be grinning from ear to ear. Thank you very, very much. Appreciate it.
Well, our next member of the 2016 class never worked under the bright lights of Hollywood. He didn't build any ballparks. But he still managed to cast a long and influential shadow across the Cactus League. As a kid, this man grew up selling programs at Mesa's Rendezvous Park and watching the cars in the players' parking lot. He served on Governor Rose Moffort's committee to save the league, was president of the association, and worked around the clock to win voter approval for a new Cubs ballpark in 2010. His favorite team, of course, was the Chicago Cubs, and his favorite player was a prospect named Ken Hubbs. Why Hubbs? Well, I asked him that once, and he said Ken Hubbs gave him a baseball when he was a kid. And that's the kind of guy our next honoree was. He was kind, generous, honest, and loyal. Few of us here knew Gene Autry or Del Webb, but almost everyone here knew Robert Brinton. His untimely passing left us all stunned and deeply saddened. And I cannot tell you how truly honored we are to bring Robert Brinton into the Cactus League Hall of Fame and to invite his wife to accept the award on his behalf. I hope that you will give a big welcome to Nanette Brinton.
I think I might lose $100. I had my son say, "Mom, you're not going to get through this without crying." I said, "I bet you $100 I will." Our family is deeply honored by this award. Robert is the last person on earth that would want it. And there's a lot of fame and glory that goes with baseball, but Robert never sought for any attention. He loved working behind the scenes, and if he were here today, he would be the one helping Robert Johnson come up with some wonderful name to be presented to today. But Robert gave his life, his heart and soul to the Cactus League. He loved baseball, even though he wasn't a real athlete himself. He loved serving, and it brought so much joy to him. He loved people, and he got along with people immensely. I got a letter after Robert passed away about 4.5 years ago from Tom Ricketts, the owner of the Cubs, that said that Robert's passing, ironically, came 4 days after Mesa signed the Cubs to stay in Mesa. And Tom Ricketts said, if it weren't for Robert, we wouldn't have stayed. That's what kind of guy he was. And I love him. I have been blessed to be with him for many years. We were married for 36 years and have a wonderful family of 7 children. And we are now expecting in 2 weeks our 22nd grandchild. So he has quite a legacy. I love the community in which he helped build. It was an ironic, I'll just share one interesting story. When we were up at our cabin near Flagstaff, and we came across a friend of his who he worked with from High Ground. It wasn't Robert Johnson, it was another friend, and he said, "So did Robert tell you about his news?" And I said, "What news?" And he said, "Well, he was just made president of the Cactus League." And I looked at Robert and I said, "Robert, how come you never told me this?" And it wasn't that Robert and I didn't talk. We talked about everything. But when he walked through the doors of our house, it was our kids' ball games and activities and things, and church and yard. We live on an acre, and so it was a lot of mowing and edging. And so when I saw Robert, I saw him in his jeans and his Hawaiian shirt out with a weed eater edging our yard. And I have missed that, let me tell you, for the last 4 years doing it myself. But I love him. He's a great guy, and he gave his all to help the Cactus League be what it is today. His dream before he passed away was that the Cactus League would have 16 teams, which would be one more than the Grapefruit League. So I hope someone will make that happen, and that Arizona will be the strong leader in spring training. Thank you.
Our final member is a Scottsdale original and a true mover and shaker. Like the others, he too has played a key role in the history of professional baseball in Arizona. He helped persuade Jerry Colangelo to form an ownership group that ultimately landed the Arizona Diamondbacks. He sacrificed his own political career when he cast the deciding vote that paved the way for construction of Bank One Ballpark. And he too was part of Governor Mofford's effort to keep the Cactus League from moving to Florida. His life has been dedicated to public service. He has been a Scottsdale City Councilman and a Maricopa County Supervisor. And he is like our very own version of E.F. Hutton. When this man speaks, people listen. So, let's hear from him now. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Jim Bruner to the Cactus League Hall of Fame.
Let me quickly tell you about a story occurred in the spring training in 1990. The then commissioner of baseball, Fave Vincent, invited a couple of us to meet with Bob Lowry, then the president of the Giants, Senator John McCain, Tom Freestone, supervisor from Mesa, and myself. The commissioner was very cordial but very direct. He said the teams loved training in Arizona, but were not happy with the condition of the facilities and practice areas. And he made it very clear. It's up to the people of Arizona to, in his words, get your act together, find the will and find the funds to make spring training in Scottsdale, or in Arizona, what it ought to be. And he said if we didn't, teams will look for other options. Those were code words for going to Florida. With strong support from then Governor Fife Symington and the Arizona legislature, a bill was passed spring of 1991. It authorized the Board of Supervisors in Pima, Yuma, and Maricopa County to create, number one, a county stadium district, number two, to raise funds through a car rental tax, and number three, to work with the local communities to remodel existing facilities and build new ones as needed. The county would provide 2/3 of the funds. The other jurisdiction had to provide the 1/3. What was the status of the 8 teams at that time in the Cactus League? Doesn't seem this long ago, but time moves quickly. The Cleveland Indians, who had been in Tucson since after World War II, announced they were moving to Florida. The Padres announced that while they liked Yuma, they didn't like the travel between Phoenix and Yuma and Phoenix and Tucson to play the games. And if we could not find a place for them in the Phoenix area, they would look for other options. Again, code words for Florida. Seattle Mariners were no longer in Tempe, and they made the same statement: find us a place in Metro Phoenix, or we will look for other options. So suddenly we have the possibility of not losing 1, but maybe 3 teams out of the Cactus League. That was just an unacceptable option. This obviously created a sense of urgency upon the county staff to make something happen. So this stadium board, which I had the fortune of chairing the first 3.5 years, and with Roy Pedersen, who was here, who was a county manager at that time, worked very closely with Phoenix, Mesa, Tempe, and Scottsdale regarding their facility needs. Actually, Scottsdale was on a different track. Under the leadership of former City Councilman Charlie Smith, they had a bond issue which passed to build a new stadium in Scottsdale in 1992, and that passed by the highest majority of any bond issue dealing with sports facilities in the country. So after those cities were taken care of, those teams, what about our 2 teams that were homeless? The Padres and the Mariners. The then mayor of Peoria, Ken Forgey, stepped to the plate and said that their city would work with the county to provide the other 1/3 of funds needed to build a new facility to hold both the Padres and the Mariners. His leadership was critical and very important to the Cactus League. As you know, we had this luncheon last year in his place. I'm just sorry that he wasn't honored because he was so important. It's taken only 2 or 3 minutes to tell you the story. I'll tell you a lot of people throughout the whole metropolitan area of Phoenix, as well as in Tucson, to take care of the expansion Colorado Rockies, made the Cactus League to stay in Arizona. We had one objective: to stabilize the Cactus League and lay the foundation for future expansion. In closing, I'm sure that 25 years ago, while we looked forward to a good future for the Cactus League, we never dreamed we would have 1/2 or 15 teams in the Phoenix area for spring training. Let's go for that 16th team. Thank you very much.
Thank you again for being a part of the ceremony, and congratulations to the class of 2016 Thanks to the association for letting us be a part of it, the Charros and the Hoacoms for helping pay for it, and we'll see you next year.